A great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission at the end of the day is to provide you, the hard working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Dr. Francine. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about why happiness is the secret weapon in business. Sounds kind of odd, doesn't it? I don't know. We'll figure that out. What's going on, Dr. Francine? How you doing?
I am, of course, happy. I am joyful. I am great. How are you?
Good, good. And thank you to viewers, by the way. Thank you for tuning in. Without you, we don't have a show. You have a lot of choices, but you choose to be with us. So thanks. Let's just address what's going on in the world if we can. We're talking about why happiness. And happiness means different things to different people. So can you give us your
Absolutely.
definition of happiness from your view so we can all at least have the same definition?
Absolutely. So, first of all, just good evening and where everyone is, hello. And when I think about happiness, it's very simplistic. It's not this big definition, it's not this big thought out thing. It's simply you being happy from the inside out. When you're in your purpose, when you're doing things that make you smile, just like right now, and when you are just in a place of authenticity, that type of happiness, that type of joy. Very simple, very simplistic.
Then I guess it begs the question, why are people struggling with happiness these days? Sounds like they should be able to have it from your definition. In fact, they can go to AI right now and say, I want to be happy. And they'll tell AI, will come back and say, this is what you need
Absolutely.
to be happy. They can go look at a podcast and go look at TikTok or Instagram. And guess what? Get motivated just like that. Yet there's a number of folks who are not happy and who are upset. So I guess the
Absolutely.
question is, what's holding people back from really achieving the happiness they want inside of them?
Being bold, being bold to our friends, to our neighbors, to our co-workers, to who we are authentically, to sometimes, and I like to give examples because I'm visual. So let's just say that you have that big bold idea, but you're afraid to share it. You're afraid to just do it. That is not being your authentic self when you don't do that. That is actually holding back. And your question was, why are people not happy? They're not happy because when these ideas come, again, sticking with the example, they're not executing them. They're afraid, what are the people going to say? What are the naysayers are going to say? Instead of just doing it, just do it, just do it. So
Just do
sounds
it.
easy
Just
enough,
do it.
but yeah, sounds easy enough. But a lot of people, and just in my experience from coaching clients on a regular basis, they are really afraid to showcase, if you will, what they have going on in the inside. The big idea, um, the big thought. What if I do it? What are people going to say? And believe it or not, a lot of people, they just don't do it for that reason. A lot of people want to be people pleasers. And I'm the exact opposite. I am not a people pleaser in any shape, form, or fashion. I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump in the deep river first, and then I'm going to swim later. But everyone, they don't have that courage and they don't have that tenacity. So a lot of times that joy is just packed in the inside because we're holding back. Because we're holding
And
back.
ladies and gentlemen, I realize that you don't, some of you, as famous as Dr. Francine is all over the place, some of you are meeting Dr. Francine Hawkins for the first time. And we'll get into her backstory. Others of you, you've already read her bio. Some of you have already Googled her. Don't worry, in a moment, we'll find out her backstory. But before we do, I'm just curious, what would you say to the person that's watching now? And they're like, I love what she just said, Shay. And I know what I should be doing, but I struggle with consistency. I struggle with making
Right.
sure I'm consistent at doing what I'm doing. And this is an unfair question, ladies and gentlemen, but I think she said I can ask any question I want. So I'm curious, what's your view of the world on people who struggle to be consistent, implementing the things they know they should do right now?
Absolutely. One thing about consistency is not what anybody else thinks that consistency is. It's really what works for you. And there's no cookie cutter in consistency. So, for example, I like to do my Mondays. Monday is like my rest day, but Monday is also my get it out of my head day. And I call it a brain dump. So, on Mondays, I like to brain dump regardless of what's happening on Monday. I'm getting a pen, I'm getting a paper, I'm getting the journal, I'm getting my laptop, my iPad, I'm getting something, and I'm get and then write it out. Get some thought to it. Why am I thinking this? What's my why? Where is this coming from? And then when Wednesday comes, well, what's my plan? What do I plan to do with it? But that's my consistency. You know what I mean? So consistency for someone else may look like something else. Someone else's consistency may be, well, for the next 5 days, I'm just going to focus on studying, for example, whatever it is I'm trying to do, because we forget that as entrepreneurs and business people, that we have to do our homework. I know that we have Google, I know that we have AI and all these things, but guess what? I am so old fashioned. Do you have a library card? Do you still go walk in the library through the aisles, smell the books, see what's there? Because sometimes, and this is, I promise you, this is what I do in real life. I go to our main library, I'll find a subject or whatever it is I'm looking for, and I just like to walk through and look at the books and just see what's there. And then I grab something I don't know. So there's no right or wrong to it, but what does consistency look like for you? What does consistency look like in your plan? For example, I have a son. My son just turned 14 years old. So how does that apply to my life? I'm a single mom. So how does that apply to my life with me working, having a business, raising a child that's now in high school that just turned 14 2 weeks ago? What do all those things look like for me? And so consistency is simply just not giving up, sticking with that plan that works for you, even if there's a pivot, because guess what? Sometimes we have to pivot too. We have to just adapt, but still keep going, still keep walking, still running. So consistency is what it looks like for you.
Wow.
But that's my
Well said.
definition.
That was very well said. Now, folks are curious. We're going to slow down for a moment. We've got to slow down because some folks are meeting for the first time. There's someone right now that's in the kitchen and they're having dinner and they're cooking and we're playing in the background. Thanks for listening to us, by the way. Someone else might have a
Right.
podcast in their ears right now and we're listening to us in the podcast. Say, I didn't read her bio. I don't know. And some of you are trying to work and
Yeah.
listen to us in the background at the same time. Thank you all. We appreciate every one of you. Take a moment. You know the question, what's the backstory on Dr. Francine? And what was that
Ooh.
defining moment that led Dr. Francine Hawkins to doing what she's doing now, which is allowing folks to understand the secret is
Yeah.
happiness to having a successful business?
So I am not going to cry on this podcast. That's the first thing I want to say. Because when I tell my story, it's so real, it's so just authentic that it's still a release for me. But I'm going to be totally bare bone, totally just, I'm giving everybody everything. So I was once upon a time in an abusive marriage, and I had to come out of that. I had to get my place in a mindset of being healthy mentally, spiritually, physically. And I remember I was actually at church one day and I just kept hearing this voice say, your change is going to come when you go back to school, because I had not gone back. I always wanted to go back, but at the time, there were only MBAs, and I didn't want an MBA. I was like, I don't want an MBA. I don't want to do math, and I don't want to do accounting. But at the time, there wasn't like leadership and all these options. And I remember seeing a friend short story on social media, and I saw all these changes she was making, and I called her and we had a conversation. She shared with me what she was doing and what was happening. And I said, wow, I didn't know that these options were available. So I reached out to the same school. I called the school, and my life has been different ever since I made that phone call. And I followed purpose. I followed that big joy on the inside of me, because true story, I used to dummy myself down so that others would not feel intimidated with me. You know what I mean? There was sometimes I just never said or did anything. I walk in the room and people were like, "Oh my gosh, here she comes." But it was just the natural glow. And what people have to understand is that you cannot get away from what's already on the inside of you. You can't get away from the natural glow. So no matter what I did, I always had this glow. And that one deciding time when I made that call and I said, "You know what? I don't care how bright I shine, just put your shades on." That was my defining moment when I no longer was worried about people, when I was no longer worried about what are they going to say. Put your shades on. And I kept walking and I kept walking forward. And my life literally has not been the same since I made that decision to be everything I knew was on the inside of me. My life has not been the same.
Congratulations on doing that, by the way. And, that says a
Thank
lot
you.
for the person that's watching now. Just so you know, a lot of our audience are dualpreneurs. They work a full time job and they're a full
Right.
time entrepreneur. And they might be
Right.
curious, what's your view of the world or thoughts on how they can make sure they're taking care of themselves first without feeling guilty because other people are dependent on them. And just to give you some idea, some of the folks watching
Yeah.
full time entrepreneur, full time job. Some folks are husbands, some are wife, some have kids. Their
Right.
kids have a schedule. Somebody saying, "Shay, let her know I'm involved in my community." Someone saying, "Wait, let her know I'm involved in my community and I'm
Yes.
involved in the faith community." Someone said, "Wait a minute, I'm going back to school. Shay, I got a lot on my plate." Somebody's a caregiver, and they're saying people are dependent on me. So, as a leader,
Ooh.
how do I slow down and make sure I take care of myself without feeling guilty? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Everything you just said, I have been in those shoes. I was a caregiver. This is what I didn't want to do. But I was a caregiver to my mother for 22 and my mom. I'm then married, have a child, and now I'm a caregiver with the child. I was in school getting my master's degree plus my business. Everything you just said, you just described me. And the advice I would give to someone is that even though I was in all of that, I still had to take the time, one, to learn how to say no, because you can't be everything to everyone, and say no without definition. And I don't have to explain. No, the answer is simply no. And you have to begin to get comfortable in that no and not feel guilty. Because if you don't have a full cup, you can't even take care of anyone else. So, one, learn how to say no. Two, also learn how to ask for help. You have to learn how to ask for help, because a lot of times we're in these situations and we don't want to share. We have been taught in our community too. What goes in the house stays in the house, etc. Don't share this, don't share that. When I was previously married, you don't tell everybody your business. Listen, I was telling business. Do you hear me? I was letting people know I need help. This is a lot for me. I need someone, for example, to come and just give me, a day of rest. Can you come for a half a day? Or can my mom at the time, can she go where? You have to ask for help and you have to let people know what your needs are. Because if you don't say anything, I mean, people, they don't know. They don't know. But those are my two biggest things. One is say no. Two, ask for help. And then my third thing is you've got to take time. You have to take time for yourself. And I always made sure I took time for myself. If there are 7 days in a week, I always had a day for myself. Even if it was a half a day, some hours, I always like went and did something for myself. So if that meant, and I like to eat. So, just gonna be honest. I like to eat. So it was once a week. I treated myself to like my favorite restaurant, or I treated myself to my favorite candy, or I would always do things that made me happy. You know what I mean? That made me just rest and release. And you still have to rest and release in the busyness of what we're doing as entrepreneurs. Is it easy? Absolutely not. But guess what? I still believe in balance. I still believe in you have to fill your cup because you cannot help anyone else if your cup is empty. So those are my three things because I've been everything you just said, all of it.
Yeah. Thanks for being authentic. Thanks for sharing and being
Yeah.
so transparent. It leads to a segment we have here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show called Today is My January
Yeah.
1st. Now, for those folks who tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. You might even wait to say those magical words. You can say those if you want right now. Today is my January
Yeah.
1st. Happy New
I
Year to
love
you.
that.
And for all the
Whew.
new folks who are tuning in for the very first time, today is my January 1st is our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh
Yes.
start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how
Wow.
dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny the past has been, the past no longer
Yeah.
equals the future. And so my question for Dr. Francine Hawkins on
Powerful.
the other side is really two parts. Number one, just when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And then how do you bounce back? You shared so many setbacks. How are you?
Yeah.
What are one, two, or three things you do just to bounce back?
Ooh, so if you all have not learned, I am a big crybaby, but in a good way, because crying is a way of releasing, and that is a loaded question for me. How do you bounce back? And if I tell the truth, I had to do that today. Um, I just recently in 2025 earned my doctorate, and I shared with people what it took. If I It wiped me out. It wiped me out financially, it wiped me out physically, it wiped me out mentally, that you don't even realize what you're carrying until you're no longer carrying it. I did not realize that load was that heavy until I was able to let it go. So how do you bounce back? The answer for me is this, again, balance. In my last 2 months, no lie, I have done nothing. Like, nothing. I haven't tried to be there for anyone except myself and my son, of course. I've had to get my health back together. So I've gone to my doctor's appointments. I just had my mammogram yesterday. I went to my
Congratulations.
doctor, like, can you check my blood? Because, I was so weak. And, I get there, found out that my potassium was low. I was anemic. And I was like, wait a minute, what? But guess what? I had been going all these months, not even realizing I had these things going. I've done nothing but replenish myself. So happy new year to me, because now I am mentally sitting down, and I am walking myself through my own coaching session and saying, Francine, how do you feel? Why do you feel that way? What was that like? And I'm coaching myself, and understanding that, I'm in a new season of my own life. And what does that mean? Because here's the question everybody asks me now. We got your degree, your little degree now. Now what? Look, that's how I go. You got your doctorate, and everybody's being all sarcastic on the low, and throwing shade on the low. And I know they're asking me in a not so nice way because, now what? And this is what I told them. I don't know, because I don't have to answer that question, to feel pressure because you're saying something to me. I said, I don't have an answer for that. I said, I'll see. And then they look at me because it's like they're trying to intimidate me in a way, or want to make me feel less than because I don't have an answer, or where's your job, or where's this, or where's that. And I said, you don't understand. I am so happy with where I am right now. I am happy not knowing, because coming through that was a lot. I don't have an answer, and I'm not looking for an answer. And so I always tell people the only thing I follow are two P's: purpose and providence. That's it. That's
I
it.
love it. I love it.
So I don't have an answer. And wherever purpose takes me and wherever providence lands me, that's where I'll be. So that's how I bounce back. That's how I bounce back.
Good
I
place
did
to be.
absolutely nothing. Yeah, I did nothing. And I'm just letting myself regenerate. I'm a whole new person, if I can tell the truth. Going through, here we go again, come the waterfall. If anyone has ever gone through that experience with my child watching me, in those last few months, I was at my laptop from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening, working on this dissertation edits. things, this, my dissertation chair. Nope, I want this. Nope, I want that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So if I was at my desk from 8 to 5, guess what? That meant I didn't go to work because I was at this desk at home working on this dissertation. That became my job because I had to finish, and like I said, when you've gone through these journeys, if anything, there should be an empathy for people. There should be an understanding for people, and there should be a love, for what has just taken place. And I love myself now so much because remember I said earlier I used to dummy myself down. So that was not on my to do list. Going back to school was not on my to-do list. It was that voice that said, I need you to go back so I can change and put you right where I want you to be. And because I obeyed that voice, I followed that voice. I mean, seriously, my life is like totally changed. The things I'm doing, the people I have met, my business is better. And then going back to our topic, because I am authentically happy, I'm authentically in joy, and I'm not trying to please people and get a response for them. And then this is the word I was looking for. I'm not trying to be validated. I don't need to be validated by anyone outside of myself. I'm good because I am happy on the inside and I'm in my purpose and I'm in providence. So I'm good. I'm good.
It's a good place to be. I'm happy that you're in that space, in that place where you are now. One of the questions I love to ask when we have time, we have a few minutes now, is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I'll frame it for the audience so they understand when I ask you to come off the mountain with the 10 commandments. That's not what I asked you to do. But you've had a lot of mentors along this journey of life. You read countless books along this journey of life. You went through rigorous studies along this journey of life to get an earned Ph.D. So if you had to step back and say, wow, here's one of the best pieces of advice I've maybe ever been given. What is it that you would share with the audience and why?
Mhm. You and these loaded questions, I tell you, because I have quite a few, and I'm gonna tell it really quick. My first one actually started when I was in 11th grade. When I was in 11th grade, my teacher at the time, so I've been in radio, TV, broadcasting, and the teacher I had at the time, that was his first position. As a broadcaster and as a teacher, we were at this career center, and I remember he took me in and he said to me after we got done and graduated, and we were still in contact years after. He said, "You set the bar for every student I ever had," and this was years later, even as an adult. And he actually just passed this year. A couple of months ago, and he said, "You set the bar." He always reminded me of who I was. So the first thing of advice is when people are there for you like that, he's been there for me my entire life. Don't let them go, because we have the tendency to just take advantage or take people for granted, and don't take anyone for granted who's been put in your life purposely, because that was my first thing, purposely, because my dad had been killed, and so he became my dad, and I never let him go. When I went to college, I never let him go. When I graduated, I never let him go. When I became an adult, I never let him go, and I had to let him go when he left the earth. So I was just blessed to meet one of the co-writers of Redbox, that used to be outside of the Walmarts and the different things. And she became my mentor. And for those who don't know, it's a little black girl from Gary, Indiana, is one of the co-writers of Redbox. And she has been in my life. And you have to remember that you do want to be in the room with people who are smarter than you. You want to be in the room with people who are smarter than you. And she's smarter than me and has more experience than me, and she has brought so much to my life. So humility is a good thing. You want to be in the room with people who are smarter than you. So even though I've got this degree, I want to be in the room with people who are smarter than me. So that's my advice.
I love that. Being in a room with people who know more than you know. How true is that?
Yep.
When you're not out
Yep.
saving the world, helping folks have more happiness in their life, helping leaders become better leaders, what do you do for
Mhm.
fun these days? What does fun look like?
So, believe it or not, I am a Chicago stepper. So I dance. I have been in the Chicago stepping community for 18 years. I actually teach it. We have a show that we do collecting his history on different people in the community. And I actually travel with it as well. So that's what I do for fun. It helps keep, because you got to remember there are 9 benefits of dance. And, one of them is weight loss. Thank God for that. Because remember, I said I like to eat, right? So, but I dance. So I am a Chicago stepper. And then my other thing is, and I take my son with me too on the events and things like that. And then the other thing, I love to spend time with my son. I love being a mother to him. So those are my two things that I do for fun. But he's growing up now, so he's like kicked me out of everything. So yeah, but those are my two things that I do for fun.
Fantastic. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. Number one, what type of clients are you looking to work with these days, if any? And number two, where can people connect with you? Where should they go? How can they find you? Like what website? What should they do?
Yeah, I know, right? So, clients that I'm looking to connect with. So it's a two-part question because for coaching, that can be individual coaching and that can be group coaching, that can be business. So for coaching, I'm totally open. But I also work with small businesses and I work with corporate clients on the consulting side because I am in organization development. And if you're familiar with organization development, we actually help to set up systems, put things in place. So if you have a business and if you're running amok and if this happens and you're not ready, I help you to think strategically, long term, innovative, to put things in place so that you're not doing all of these things. So I have corporate clients I've worked with where I've done training, development, workshops, but I've also worked with small businesses. I have a few now. One is in Texas, another one's in Florida, and I'm kind of helping them get their businesses started together because I got to tell people this. I am not a big believer in rushing business. We hear grind, hustle, and I am the opposite. I don't grind and I don't hustle. I don't believe in that. Take your time, do things right the first time. There are people like myself who have paid the piper and we have bought since. Listen, because we've been there, done that. You don't have to rush through business. You don't have to rush through. What is for you, and what is going to come to you is going to come to you. Purpose and providence. Again, purpose and providence. Don't rush through business. Do it right the first time. Take your time and have balance. But I am, I'm open. So I do free consultations so that people can know. I'm sorry, so I can do a discovery session to know what it is they need and how to reach me. So I got to say this, I am like revamping everything now that I'm done with school. So the best way to get me is really just by phone, which is 219-455-6096. I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook, and I am also on LinkedIn as well. But I'm in the process right now revamping everything because I just got done with school and now the vision has changed and everything has changed. So I'm like reworking everything. So, but 219-455-6096 is how you get me directly. Just call me on the phone. I'm still, a little old school.
Well, let me say thank you
Yeah,
so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate it. I can't wait to have you back or connect with you again soon.
absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show, right? And so I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life right now, whether you're doing really, really well and you're going to that next level of success and happiness, or perhaps you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming. The one thing I do believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to
Yeah.
come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. That being said, my name is Shay Brown. It hadn't changed. The Happy Entrepreneur. We out of here. Thanks a lot, Dr. Francine. We appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank
And
you.
well, we'll see you all on the other side. God bless and keep doing God's work. Peace.